Alright, so unfortunately the training mode and especially the tutorial in this game are really bad. So I think a lot of people have misconceptions about just defend, hyper defense, and guard cancels. But don't worry, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about them in this game, and also some really good option selects and buffers you can use to make them easier to do. So let's go over the basics. First, just defend. What is just defend and how does it work? Just defend is kind of like a parry in Third Strike, or kind of Street Fighter 6, but a lot more lenient than Street Fighter 6. And it can only be done when your character is not in block stun. You can get just defend by either tapping down back or back. And of course, if they do a low, you're going to have to hit down back. You can't hit back against a low. Right? You have to block appropriately. And same thing, if it was an overhead, you would have to hit back instead of down back. And I think you have to be within 8 frames of when the move hits you. It's pretty lenient. Now, unlike Street Fighter 3 or sometimes Street Fighter 6 on a perfect parry, this doesn't change your frame advantage. Look at the frames here. Terry, me, +1 on a regular block, +1 on a just defend. Doesn't do that at all. What it does affect though is your rev meter. So look at my rev meter, it's at 0%, I'm blocking, now it went up to 7, because every time you block moves, your rev meter goes up a bit. But if I just defend it, my rev meter does not go up. So when you're in a regular state, just defend prevents your rev meter from going up. And yes, you can do multiple just defends in a row. I'm gonna get that to in a sec. Cool thing about just defend is if you're blocking moves with multiple hits, unlike Street Fighter 3 or Street Fighter 6, you don't actually have to time all your just defends. You can just keep on mashing it out. So I'm gonna show you a really quick example, okay? Let's pick a multi-hitting move. Okay? So all you need to do is keep on mashing your block. I am not timing this at all. I'm just mashing down back or back in this situation because it's not a low. So you don't have to time it. That's something I think a lot of people don't know. Once you get the first just defend, if it's a multi-hitting move, there's no timing necessary. Just mash your guard, either back or down back, and you'll get it. Now, if you're on pad, arcade stick, or leverless, there's another way you can do just defend. Instead of letting go of down back or back, you can hold down back and you can just tap and release forward. So if you're on a pad, you're gonna have to go like this. I don't think it's that easy on pad. On arcade stick, it's easy because you can just kind of wiggle the stick back and forth. And if you're on leverless, you can just hold down back and just tap and release the forward button as you're holding down back right here. If I can get the timing, let me show you. Alright, so it's really easy. After you just defend, you're also going to save your rev meter, but you can do a guard cancel from a just defend. And what a guard cancel is, that means you cancel the just defend into a special. Now, unlike Street Fighter 6 or Street Fighter 3, you can't do a normal after you do a just defend into a guard cancel. You can only do special moves or supers. That's it, just those two. You can only cancel the special moves and supers. You can't do normals. So if I record Rock doing this, even if I try to push hard punch here, I can't do it. It doesn't come out. But if I do something like, I don't know, quarter circle back, burn knuckle, there we go. That gives you more advantage. So you can go for something like this. Now, if you notice, that combo didn't do a lot of damage. That's because your combos are heavily scaled when you do guard cancels. So you're not going to get as much damage as you would off a normal combo. Let me show you what I just did. I did this. So that should do 261 damage, but if I do it off a guard cancel, 206. So I lose about 60 damage because I did a guard cancel. Now also, look at my rev meter. I'm at 0 right now, right? See, I went all the way up to 80%. Check this out. Here's how much it would cost on a regular combo. 63%. That's because to do a guard cancel, the guard cancel itself, whether you spend rev meter or not, is going to cost rev gauge. So I'm just going to do a regular burn knuckle, which doesn't cost any rev meter. Watch this. See, it went up to 17%. That's because the first special move you do to guard cancel costs meter. So this would normally cost 25. That's 42. So So if you're going to guard cancel, you have to make sure that it's worth the meter you're spending. So first of all, there's going to be a damage reduction because it gets scaled from a guard cancel. And then secondly, there's going to be a meter increase overall because your first special is going to take extra meter. So make sure you know that. So basically the point I'm trying to make is you can guard cancel, but make sure you're guard canceling at a time when it's really appropriate, because you don't want to put yourself into overheat for a really crappy combo. So make sure you're choosing when you guard cancel. The next thing with guard cancels, it's even going to cost you meter if you go into a super. So check this out. All right. So that was 17% meter and it did 170 damage. If I just go for the normal super, 0 meter and 200. So I lose 30 damage and I have to spend 70% of my rev gauge to actually do that. So that even counts for supers. But there's something special here. Look at the text on the bottom left of my screen when I do a burn knuckle. Punish, guard cancel, and just defend is what showed up. Now watch what happens if I do a super. Do you see the text 0 frame? And did you hear the announcer say 0 frame? And look at the frame data on the top left here, Terry. It says impact frame 1. If I do a regular super, it's a 10 frame startup. So there's an extra system in this game that wasn't introduced or explained at all in the tutorial. And that's if you do a guard cancel into a super, it becomes 0 frame startup and then it hits on the next frame, which is basically this game's way of protecting you from getting hit by multi-hit moves after you guard cancel. Pretty much guarantees you damage for spending the meter, which I think is a really smart system. They thought it through. I think that's a great thing. It's a really interesting, creative way to make sure you're always getting a reward, but yeah, it works. So as long as you do your super, like your level 1, your level 2, or your hidden gear, they're always going to be 1 frame startup. So a lot of people, you might be thinking, okay, to block this, I have to hit back and then input a double quarter circle forward. And that is hard. If I try to just input a standard, it's hard. I might not have enough time. And I might mess up my block because of that. Right? That's where buffers come in. I'm sure you guys have noticed if you try to walk forward and throw a fireball, you'll get a DP a lot of the times. And that's because of how lenient this game's input system is. But what you can actually do is you can buffer the first half of your super motion before you do the guard cancel. So watch here. Rock's gonna run in and do standing heavy punch, close heavy punch. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna input a quarter circle forward, hit back, and then do another quarter circle forward. There you go. I buffered the first quarter circle forward, I hit back, then I finished with the second quarter circle forward, and it worked. If you want, you could even buffer both. You can do 2 quarter circle forwards, tap back, and then push your attack button, and it should work. There we go. So I buffered it twice here. Then I hit back and then forward plus punch, and then that got me my super, so I buffered it there. So it's really common for someone to do a close heavy normal, feint cancel, and then go into their next heavy normal to frame trap you, right? This is a great time for you to input a buffer. So let's say I wanted to beat his second heavy after the feint with a level 1 super. What I do is I block his first attack, do a quarter circle forward, hit down back, and then finish the second quarter circle forward. There. So again, quarter circle forward, back, another quarter circle forward. And then you get an easy super cancel. And not only does this work with super cancels, this works with things like DPs. So again, doing something like tap down back into DP is really like finger or hand heavy, no matter what controller you're on, right? SNK has really weird DP shortcuts. So it's a half circle back and then you just tap down forward and that'll give you a DP. Now, why is this good? Because that allows you to go for a low block and then cancel the low block with the guard cancel into a DP. There. Then, hyper defense. Hyper defense essentially functions exactly the same way as just defend, and you can do the exact same things, except just defend, we already learned, was done from neutral. But hyper defense can only be done when you're in a block string. Alright, so let me switch characters to give you a really good example that's really easy to understand. So we're going to record, start doing this. Now, the way to figure out if this is a block string, you let go of your controller. If you can block all of the hits, that means you're in a block string. Anytime this happens, you have access to doing advanced defense, or sorry, hyper defense. Now, the rule with hyper defense is that you have to tap forward or down forward within 2 frames of when the move hits you. So the timing window is much tighter than just defend, and the input is opposite, forward or down forward. And make sure your hand, your stick, your controller, your button goes back to neutral before you tap forward. And if you do it, you get that little screen freeze into hyper defense. And on that one, the input buffer is a little bit longer than a just defend, so you don't necessarily need to buffer your specials as much in that situation as you would for a regular just defend guard cancel. However, I do think it's much easier to buffer things because it's a forward input. So for example, a DP is going to start with a forward input anyways, so it's much easier to do things like DP break here. Also, quarterbacks are really easy too. Then for quarter circle forward supers, what you would have to do, this is the tricky one. You either have to buffer it in before you do the hyper defense, or you can just use the longer cancel window to do it afterwards. There. So the way I input it, I do it as half circle forward, and I try to time my advancing guard with the last forward of the first quarter circle forward, then I just input another quarter circle forward. Like that. Alright, so the last thing I want to show you guys with just defend is if you're doing a down back or back, getting quarter circle back buffers into just defend guard cancel is really easy because all you have to do is complete the motion and then push the button. So for example, Hotaru's going to go like this, there. You don't have to tap down back and then do another input. You would just tap quarter circle back and then push the buttons and your guard cancel will come out for quarter circle back buttons. And I think that's one of the reasons why meta in this game, I think characters with really strong rev art quarter circle back moves are going to be kind of strong in this game in the tier list just because they have access to a really fast, really easy guard cancel. But anyways, hope the video helped. If you like it, don't forget to subscribe and like because it helps me make more videos like this in the future. And as always, thank you all so very much for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.